When you think of agents, there's a story back from the mid-90s where Southampton played this player called Ali Dyer, and it was claimed that he or his agent had rang up the manager at the time, the manager Graham Souness, and said, "Hi, I'm George Weah, and I've got my cousin. He's really good at football. Why doesn't he come and play for Southampton?" And apparently he came to the training ground on the Friday and then was put as a substitute on the Saturday, came off the bench, and before even the match finished, Graham Souness hauled him off because he was so bad, and then he was never seen again. Well, that is the legend, that is the story, but in the 20 years since that happened, nobody has actually found this mysterious Ali Dyer until now. Kelly Naqi is a journalist who has written an article for the Bleacher Report and managed to track down Ali. And Kelly now joins us live on Sportuccino. Kelly, great to have you on the show. So how on earth did you actually finally track this mysterious man down?
Well, I did something actually that many journalists can do if you think about it. Of course, I did the usual because I had heard he was in France, so I reached out to, the Senegalese community in France. I reached out to football agents in France. I actually thought this guy probably has a son. That's my dog's tail right there. Did you see my tail? And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to read every article on the internet, but because he's from Dakar, instead of just reading this stuff about him in London and in the US, I went into Senegalese sports websites and articles written on him that were pretty much repurposed, that were written in Britain, but translated to Wolof, which is one of the common languages in Dakar. And I started reading in the comments section and translating. Thank God Google Translate, right? Translating every comment. And there were a couple of commenters that were really specific and said, yeah, he went to school with Momar Jang and Augustin Senghor. I remember his dad used to work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and my sister used to sometimes ride to school with them. And there were really specific comments. The problem was that these comments were written by anonymous people and I couldn't track down who they were. But it gave me the sense that, okay, well, first of all, I can track down Momar Jang and Augustin Senghor and see if it's true that he went to school with them. But at least now I felt like I had a starting point, right? Because no one else could find him. If he was in France, if he was in England, I couldn't find him. So I said maybe he's got relatives and other friends in Dakar that he keeps in touch with. So Bleacher Report said, find him, give us a budget, tell us what you think it will be. So I gave him a budget and went to Africa. And it turns out, yes, he did go to school. Whoever those anonymous posters, they really helped me out because he did go to school with those guys. And then one of them gave me an idea of somebody who might still keep in touch with Ali. He did not, but he knew where the parents' house was, basically. So then we had to just go to that neighborhood and just ask around. And, literally it's knocking on a lot of doors. There are a lot of people in the streets who are very friendly and chatted. And my fixer / bodyguard / translator, his name is Sharif. We talked to a lot of people and then ended up finding his parents' house, and they were very wonderful and accommodating and let us in. And then the parents told me where he was and gave me his phone number. And so it ended up, I couldn't believe how ultimately, quote unquote, easy it was. I don't think a lot of people had the notion or the budget to say, go to Africa and see if you can, track down his family. I think, that's a big ask. And Bleacher Report wanted this story enough that they said go.
But it wasn't quite so easy for you when you got to Africa to finally track him down. There seemed to be a little bit, the family seemed to be a bit uncomfortable of getting you to him directly, right?
On the first night, they were not uncomfortable at all, and that is my dog now sitting behind me. So there you go. Your viewers get a twofer here. Um, the first night they were great, and they actually thought that he would want to speak with me. That's why they gave me the number, because they said you just want to get to the truth. I didn't have preconceived notions, and maybe this is a little bit as well because I'm American, and I didn't even really know of Ali Ja as it's pronounced, not Daya as I know everyone, or Dia as everyone has pronounced all these years. Um, I didn't know whether or not he did any of this. In fact, it all kind of sounded a little suspicious to me because I couldn't imagine that somebody could get a manager's phone number and get him on the phone and convince him so easily. I mean, 1996, yes, it was 20 years ago, but Graham Souness is not stupid. And um, it's really hard to get numbers like that. They're not available to the general public. Being in the media, could you get someone's number now, a manager of a team, so quickly, if you were just a regular person like Ali Ja was at the time? So uh, I found the parents to be like, okay, you're going to be fair. You have an open mind. We'll give you his number and we'll tell him about our meeting and we'll encourage him to talk. And then they spoke with Ali. And the next day when I came back, they're like, yeah, he just doesn't want the story done at all. He's moved past this. He doesn't want his name brought up. He's just started a new job, uh, a trial period for a month, and he just doesn't want this story done. And I said, that's okay. I understand that, but I'm still going to do the story. So it would really help if I had more information. Um, but he at the time didn't want anything to do with it. What made him finally call me at the end was I went from Africa to Paris and I interviewed his son, Simon. He had a son with his French wife, and he plays football. And I asked the son to please call his dad and speak on our behalf and say, listen, just consider it again. Just consider, even if it's you just setting the record straight, even if it's just one statement. And evidently it worked because then he called me.
And so you finally tracked him down. You travelled from all the way to Dakar, to Senegal, and then you went to France, and then ultimately, where did you finally meet him after travelling all that way?
Well, I was meet him kind of like you and I are meeting right now. I was sitting right here on my couch in London, and the phone rang, and I didn't recognize the number, but I answered it anyways. It was a different phone number than the number. His parents gave me two numbers. It was different than those two numbers. And I answered the phone, and he said, Kelly? And I said, yes. And he said, this is the man who you've been searching for. And I just started laughing, and I said, oh, hello, Ali. And then we chatted for 20 minutes. So, and then he had, at the time he had said, listen, let me get through. I'm on my way to Asia. I'm on my way to Qatar and then Asia. I get back in mid-December. Let me think about sitting down with you then and do a more in-depth thing, because I said, listen, he was on his way to the airport when he called me. And I said, listen, this isn't enough. I need more. I need more time. And so he said he'd consider it. The day that this story ran, he sent me an email saying he's just not up for doing anything, but to thank me for my time and interest. And he enjoyed the phone call, but he really wants this to be in the past. So it will be up to me to try to convince him in mid-December. I'm going to keep trying to do a full sit down and talk more about things, because listen, what he said, what's interesting is we're still fact checking with Paris Saint-Germain to see if he played for the second tier team, to see if he actually played in the Paris Cup in either 1986 or 87, which he claims he did. I mean, it's great to get his side, but as journalists, you've got to be a slave to proof and documents and corroboration. And not to what you want to believe. I do think that there are some elements of his story that are definitely true, and the rest, we're going to have to fact check it like we would any other story.
What do you think is true then?
Um, so he says that he played. It wasn't just a five-a-side the day before the Leeds United game. It wasn't that. He said he trained with them for a while, and I do believe that maybe Souness, evidently there were a lot of injuries at the time. They were really short of bodies. I don't think that Souness just saw him in a five-side and decided to put it in the game and was completely shocked. I think he was more aware of his football abilities and was probably exceedingly embarrassed when he was out on the field. I haven't seen any of the clips of that time that Ali was on the field. Evidently, he didn't do well. That's what That's what some of his teammates were saying. That's what Souness said. So I've got to believe their assessments. But I think Souness knew a little bit more about his football abilities than he was completely duped. I don't believe that Souness fell for a voice on the phone saying it was George Weah and take a look at my cousin. He's too smart for that. There's something more there. There's something more there. And that would tend to make sense if, when I say there being something more there, it would make sense that there would be something more there if he did see Ali train more and still signed him. So that would make sense to me. So, but again, these are just, I'd love to talk to Souness. I have every intention of trying again. He did not want to participate in our story.
Well, it's a fascinating story. I remember one of your quotes in there, Matt Letizia said he was like Bambi on ice playing. A little bit of a harsh description, but this is a fascinating story. I hope that Ali does get back to you and you do speak to him in December, and hopefully you can finally get to Graham as well. Regardless, it's a great read. It's on Bleacher Report. Kelly, just before you go, how can we continue to follow your journey on any future articles you've got coming up, or on social media or anything like that, please?
I just started, now that I'm here in the UK, I've lived here for 6 months. I just started a UK Twitter account. It's Kelly Naqi UK, and the spelling on the last name is Naqi. But you're a big social media guy. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm in my 50s. I just sort of don't get it. I'm being forced to do it.
Well, I'm having to learn about all these other ones I don't know too much about. You'll notice my Snapchat is very poor. And yesterday, working with James Sawyer, who's about 10 years younger than me, he's like, Richard, you got to get on the Snapchat. You got to work it. So I'll be working a little bit harder on that as well.
I can't. No, I can't do Snapchat. I can't.
Yeah, because by the time you get onto Snapchat, there'll be a new thing which you've got to get used to. Well, Kelly, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time and a really great story. And we've got links to the story below in our description pages on Facebook, YouTube, and on the website as well. Brilliant. Kelly Naqi, thank you so much for being on Sportuccino.
You're welcome.